With the Citi Double Cash Card, you get 1% cash back when you buy and 1% as you pay. That's like the joy of getting 2 W's on the road or catching the home run ball without spilling your drink. Double boom. Double the love with the Citi Double Cash Card. Apply now at Citi.com/doublecash.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me a boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, Dad?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
And we are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. What do?
We get a people what they want.
It's Friday. Let's get it. Jalen Rose, there's new quotes from Jimmy Butler, who was in Paris with Dwayne Wade and Carmelo Anthony, just hanging out, having a baguette, drinking some Bordeaux wine, in Paris, and he gets this news that he's been traded to the Timberwolves. So they caught up with him in Paris, and here's what he had to say. Quote, I guess being called the face of an organization isn't as good as I thought. We all see where being the so-called face of the Chicago Bulls got me. So let me just be a player for the Timberwolves, man. That's all I want to do. I just want to be winning games. Do what I can for my respective organization and let them realize what I'm trying to do. He sounds a little salty. What does he mean by this whole face of the organization thing?
You start to learn it's all about winning. He got drafted by the Bulls, as did Derrick Rose. Their treks were a lot different, however. Rose dealt with some injuries on his way to winning MVP, and before you know it, and rightfully so if you're the Bulls, you had to move on from the hometown product because you didn't know if he was going to be able to stay healthy consistently, especially if you're going to give him a long-term contract again. For Jimmy Butler, you're now the best player on the Chicago Bulls, but they're not winning at the level that they expect to for a franchise that has saw Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen lead them to 6 titles. I played for said team. They did make the playoffs. Had Rajon Rondo not gotten injured, all of this may look different because they were up 2-0 against the Boston Celtics. They go on to win that series. I don't think he gets traded. That's the beauty of sports, however. And so for Jimmy Butler, the second part of this commentary is, while Dwayne Wade has been a 3-time champion and also was drafted by the Miami Heat, he eventually saw his days become numbered based on a contract squabble with the team. Carmelo Anthony was the best player in Denver. He opted to go to New York. Now in New York, you see all of the drama and turmoil, some early self-inflicted, in particular on the floor, because as the best player, he hasn't been able to lead them consistently to the playoffs, definitely didn't accomplish their goals. They hire Phil Jackson, it's become a disaster. So much so, Phil Jackson was like, you know what? Looking at the New York Post, looking at the Daily News, I'm going to make sure I draft a player that English might not be his first language. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that he knows that the triangle, learn triangle. And so hanging out with those dudes, I'm pretty sure allowed him to digest what was taking place. Because they looking at him like, man, I wish I was playing for Minnesota this year. You got a good chance to ball for Tibbs. You had some of your best years under him. Y'all got Towns. Y'all got Wiggins. Rubio still there. Y'all got a chance to really make some noise in the league. Mm-hmm. You should have another glass of wine. As a matter of fact, bottles of wine for everybody.
And no, you know what happens? Here's what happens is Dwayne Wade just realized, he's like, wait a second. I just signed to opt in for $24 million, and they're probably going to buy me out. Bottles of wine on me. Bottles of wine on me. Bottles of wine on me. Like, they might buy Dwayne Wade out. Is that really going to happen?
I've heard whispers about that. It remains to be seen. I'm not as enthusiastic about that prospect for he and Rajon Rondo. Here's why. That was the same team during the draft, and remember I told you this. They traded a player to the Golden State Warriors for $3.5 million in cash.
Just for cash.
That player, Mr. Bell, has more bounce to the ounce. He's going to be in the league making spectacular acrobatic plays. And the Bulls gave him up for $3.5 million. So maybe they're trying to get their bread right because that's the number. That's the exact number it's going to take to buy out Rajon Rondo. Stay tuned.
Interesting. And also, I just don't think if you're being so frugal and you're so cash starved that you need to give up a pick and a player, like you just mentioned, for $3.5 million, that you're just willing to be like, you know what, Dwayne Wade, how much is it? What is it, 24, 23? Can we do 20? Can we do 22? Is 22 okay? Like, I just don't see them just giving away $22 million to Dwayne Wade. But I can, you know what, I don't know why I'm looking forward to this, but like, I feel bad for Dwayne Wade. He did not sign up for this. He's in Paris right now being like, wait, who's on the team? Who's the team now? Like, who do I have?
I have a remedy for my good friend Dwayne Wade, and you know we love power couples. Big shout Gabrielle Union.
Mm-hmm.
You ready for this? My back's sore.
Uh-oh. Is your back okay, Dwayne?
My knees bothering me.
Do you need to take a couple of days off, Dwayne? Are you okay? You can't go?
Yeah.
You can't go, Dwayne?
Yeah, I can't go.
Oh, you can't go? Well, guess what? We're the Bulls. We've got the shadiest team doctors in the league. Don't worry about it. They'll evaluate you. What could possibly go wrong? Ask Lil Dang how that goes. Ask Lil Dang how that goes with the Bulls team doctors. We'll see how this goes.
You know, I'm going to sit this one out, fellas. Y'all go ahead. I got next.
Interesting. So you heard it here first. The Bulls might not buy out Dwayne Wade, and Dwayne Wade might not be healthy to play. Who knows? Guess what? If he's not healthy, does he still get paid, Jalen?
The only way Dwayne Wade doesn't get paid is if he leaves the team, and that's not going to happen.
No. And then you briefly touched on this, but there is this team in Minnesota now that has this core four. Yep. Rubio, guess what he does? Pass the ball. Guess what the other three do? Score the ball. Wiggins, Towns, Butler. Towns and Butler play defense. Wiggins can play some D. Like, this is a team that has a nice little core four. We've got LeVar Ball saying the Lakers are going to make the playoffs. It's going to be difficult. But I'm looking at this team, and I'm saying, maybe Portland falls off or Oklahoma City falls off. This team could make the playoffs. Is that crazy? No.
It's not crazy to suggest that the Minnesota Timberwolves will make the playoffs. However, they're in the Western Conference.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were in the East, I would say yes. And it also shows the difference between the conferences, and here's why. What team was celebrating, hitting the bell, selling 14,000 season tickets? The process has now become something that everybody celebrated in Philadelphia. Yep. So I look deeper than Atlantis at what the Sixers have done the last couple of seasons. And I was like, you know what? For all the enthusiasm that has taken place with that team, you know what's not going to happen this year?
500 basketball?
Them making the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go 500. No. I really don't. And I love Joel Embiid, but I don't think he's going to play 82 games next year. We all kind of know how this is going to play out. They'll be in the lottery again, but we love that bell. We love enthusiasm. All the enthusiasm is great in the preseason. That's what the preseason is for. It's getting excited about the prospects and me saying things like the Timberwolves are going to make the playoffs. And then you look at the 8 teams from the West that made the playoffs, and like, what was it, 8 seed was Portland? You're like, are the Timberwolves better than Portland?
And also, here's another thing for Philly. Young players have to learn how to win. Joel Embiid, unfortunately, got injured and didn't play in the NCAA tournament. Ben Simmons' team didn't qualify for the NCAA tournament, denied playing in the NIT tournament. Markelle Fultz's team had 9 wins. So while I think all 3 of those young players have all-star potential, I like all of them a lot. Markelle Fultz came on our set post-draft. He's an amazing young man. I'm rooting for him. The elephant in the room, besides learning how to win, is Joel Embiid's health. We're talking about the process being completed when we haven't seen any of them play just yet. We haven't seen them play together in the pros just yet. And can Embiid stay healthy for a prolonged period of time? That remains to be seen.
Jalen Rose, you were in the building for the draft. We've already spoken about some of the draft takeaways, but you know we haven't digested the draft until we've done a special edition of Soft Move and Boss Move. Are you ready?
Let's get it.
De'Aaron Fox, drafted by the Kings, was given the hat and then eventually wore a custom Kings visor to allow his wild hair to breathe and be free. What? Having a custom draft visor because your hair is too big for the hat, soft move or boss move?
Boss move. You know that's something I would definitely do.
We know
when
about
I
you
have
in
to
custom.
dress up and be on television, suited and booted, I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to put on my underclothes, in particular a crisp white shirt that I'm going to wear underneath my suit, get my hair cut, and at that point of the day, nothing else is going over the top of my head until I go on television. That's just how it's going down. You should try it sometime. For public figures, people that do red carpets, people that have to do appearances, there's certain tricks you have to do to keep your looks fresh. There's no different from any person that wears makeup and has to take something off. They put a little net over their face to take their shirt or their jacket off or whatnot so they don't get makeup on it. It's the exact same thing. Boss move.
Danny Ainge said the Celtics would have taken Jason Tatum with the number 1 pick, and Vlade Divac said that the Kings would have taken De'Aaron Fox with the number 1 pick. Blatantly lying about your draft board. Soft move or boss move?
Soft move.
That's soft.
Here's why. Because if you really wanted to take him at 1, you would have taken him at 1, so nobody else would have taken him at 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the draft works. And then if somebody else would have drafted him, you'd have said, well, the top 3 or 4 players are kind of comparable on our board, and so therefore we just took the guy that we felt like we were more strongly about. Here's the deal. Hindsight is always 20/20. The bottom line is the Celtics did get Tatum. I think he's going to be a productive wing creator. They only had 1 player, Isaiah Thomas, that scored over 1,000 points last season. He's going to help that statistic.
Also, Vlade, no one believes you about anything, especially about De'Aaron Fox going number 1 in this draft. It's just crazy. Next, this one is good for you. I saw a beautiful photo essay of the draft on ESPN.com, and there's a picture of Luke Kennard, suited and booted. He looked good, and he's eating Cheetos at the draft table with his fingers. As a Cheetos connoisseur, Mr. Rose, soft move or boss move, eating Cheetos with your fingers at the NBA draft?
That's a soft move.
Really? Why?
It is. I just ate a bag of Cheetos and Doritos right before this program.
And every time before this program, you eat a bag of Cheetos and Doritos. So if you're ever listening to Jalen Jacoby, just know that Jalen just ate a bag of Cheetos and Doritos. Please continue.
As you know, so I'm at liberty to speak on this. You are at the draft. It's the most important day of your life. You can't have cheesy fingers when you go up to shake the commissioner's hand.
No, and can we talk about shaking the commissioner's hand? Because we always told everybody not to shake the commissioner's hand. So I was paying close attention to how the commissioner was handling this. He forced everybody into the bro hug. I mean, I don't think that they could even follow our advice because of the way he gave them dap and then brought them in. It would have been so weird if you tried to keep your distance at that point. Soft move or boss move from Adam Silver, negating the controversy and just forcing the bro hug.
That's a boss move. Paying attention to your audience is always the key to awareness. And he didn't want to have it to where certain players were doing it, certain players weren't doing it, and then it looked uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what he did is gave everybody the initial bro hug and then gave everybody the corporate handshake.
For the pictures.
Gave them the, hey, look at the camera, smile. How you feel? How's your family doing? Everything going. And so he gave him the bro hug, then he gave him the corporate handshake and gave him the corporate small talk in their ear to make sure everybody relaxed and got the quality photo that they needed.
And Adam Silver is confident and calculated, and he didn't want to have to deal with this, so he developed a plan and executed it. I thought it was really well done by him. He's like, this is how it's going to work. It's going to be choreographed. Dap, bro hug, release, redo the handshake, smile at the cameras, and now let's keep it moving. I liked it. Frank Ntilikina, the New York Knicks pick, wore a red draft suit. However, it was so much better than yours, so well tailored, no pinstripes, no crazy tie with a pattern on it. It was just like he did the red draft suit so well. Wearing a red suit to the draft, soft move or boss move?
Boss move. And here's the other thing. Watching the draft up close and personal made me a little envious.
Why?
These cats got custom kicks, fly jewels, tailor-made suits. They got budgets. I didn't have a budget.
Jalen, don't you dare try to make excuses for your draft suit, okay? It's on wax. It's there. Don't you dare make excuses. One thing I did notice looking at you in your draft suit, those veneers really helped, man. I didn't realize how bad those teeth were. Like, shout out to you, because it's so hard to recognize your own deficiencies and then solve them. I'm being honest. Like, that was really a problem. And you said, you know what? I got enough money now. I don't want this to be a problem anymore. Shout out to you, Jalen Rose, for getting those teeth fixed.
How about this? Having rock teeth and getting veneers after you get drafted. Soft move or boss move?
My heart wants to say soft move, but after seeing the side-by-side pictures, boss move. You know what I mean? Like, there's the thing. Every sort of any person, male or female, that considers themselves kind of butch or masculine, thinks that like a cosmetic procedure is kind of soft. Like, oh, I would never do that. You know what I mean? But like, when you look at your teeth then and now, it's like, oh yeah, that's definitely an upgrade. That is definitely an upgrade. Lonzo Ball had the black suit. You know, we're not going to talk about LeVar and all that other stuff. Whatever. Good for him. He got drafted. He had the black suit, the black bow tie, everything black. Had the chain on outside of the button-up. It was sort of featuring the chain, so he had to put his whole suit on and then put the chain on over so the chain was dangling. Soft move or boss move, chain outside the button-up.
Wearing your own custom gym shoe plus a chain on top of your suit is definitely a boss move with your dad, your little brothers, when your father was the person that said, the Lakers gonna get that ball, and they gonna get that ball. And you know what happened? He was right.
Here's the thing, Zeus and Jesus Christ told him. You know what I mean? Like, it's what, you know how they always say to ESPN, they're like, you need two sources to break news. You need two sources to break news. It's like, all right, Zeus told me and Jesus Christ told me. Okay, so that's how I knew he was going to the Lakers. Like, I wouldn't just trust Zeus because he's kind of crazy. He's Greek, you know what I mean? But like, then we got Jesus Christ, JC and Zeus together. Oh, he's definitely going to be in the Lakers.
And here's another thing you'd appreciate. One, shout to the Ball family. Mm-hmm. Get well soon to Lonzo Ball's mom, who's been dealing with some health issues.
Yep.
That's one. Two, shout to LeVar Ball. I know you watched Jalen and Jacoby. He was walking down the street doing an interview with our own Jeff Goodman, and he was talking about the draft. And I heard him use the term suited and booted.
Good for him. We appreciate anyone that listens to Jalen and Jacoby. I apologize for everything I said about you, LeVar, for real. The shiny hats that they gave out this year, soft move or boss move?
Boss move.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I love those hats. I was looking at that Pistons hat like I got to get one of them. No question about it. And here's the thing you got to make sure you pay attention to. Soft move or boss move? Having somebody give the draft prospect the hat to put on, or have it placed on the mannequin head?
Mannequin head was much better. I like the mannequin head much better. It was right there for them just to grab, because that person who gave the hats away became like a featured part of the draft presentation the previous 3 years. I love the mannequin head thing. It's so easy. It's already there. We don't need a human being to do this for us. I get that. But I have to get back to this. Like, we were talking about their clothes. You know what I mean? They, like you said, there's tailors, there's jewels, there's custom linings. It's a custom situation. They've spent so much time on their look. Why are we giving them a scaly, shiny hat with a suede brim that doesn't fit right and doesn't look right to ruin their outfit? I think we should just abolish the hats entirely. We don't even need the hats. We don't need the hats. We know what team they're going to. The team logo is all over the entire set. We get it. He got drafted by the Timberwolves. Don't make him wear that ugly hat.
Spoken by somebody that's never shaken the commissioner's hand and donned the hat. That's what makes the moment. You must wear a brim. That's like your crown, David Jacoby.
Here's the thing. When you're this handsome, you don't like to wear hats.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
This is called Jalen and Jacoby. However, Jalen, not here right now. We are blessed with the presence, the wisdom, the intelligence, and the humor of Amin Elhassan.
I was going to ask if you had another guest with that intro.
Just you. Just you. The draft was last night.
Yeah.
we've all heard the kind of like top level whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we've all kind of sifted through like, oh my God, the Bulls got fleeced, like that whole thing. So like we can kind of go a little bit different.
Right.
What is a surprise that wasn't sort of like an A-list thing for you?
To be honest, I haven't paid attention to a lot of the coverage other than the shows that I've been on in the last 24 hours.
Well, you're on every show, so.
Yeah, but I was staggered that the Kings didn't ruin draft day. They actually had a great draft in terms of the players they selected. Now, as I told Rachel Nichols, now it's the Kings, so they'll find a way to ruin the players.
Yes.
But just on terms on Thursday, June 22nd or whatever it was, they picked the right guys.
So we're talking about De'Aaron Fox at 5, which is kind of a no-brainer. They're kind of like handcuffed there.
Yeah.
And then they trade the 10 to get 15 and 20 or 15 and 25.
It's 15 and 20.
15 and 20.
Yeah.
And then they picked Justin Jackson.
And Giles.
Yeah. So listen, I understand what you're saying.
Right.
There's a part of me that's like, okay, they made good draft picks. One of the guy that they picked that you're talking about has 0 of 2 knees that are functional.
Double ACL, right? Double ACL. But here's what I'm going to say.
I think there's an MCL in there too somewhere.
Prior to those knee injuries, and I know that's kind of the huge caveat, but prior to those knee injuries, this was a guy that people talked about in high school who was going to be possibly the number 1 overall pick when he's drafted.
I believe he was number 1 ranked out of the top 100 in his class.
But beyond that, because there are guys who are number 1 ranked, and Austin Rivers was once the number 1 ranked player, and it didn't take us long.
Still could blossom into a Hall of Famer. Who knows?
Sure, I'm sure he thinks so. But Giles had that pedigree, right? That he could be a game changer on the NBA level. The other thing I'll say is when it comes to knee injuries, the ACL is the biggest boogeyman that's actually not that scary. I remember our medical staff in Phoenix told me, when you have ACL reconstructive surgery, now, with today's modern medicine, your ACL is actually better than your God-given ACL that you came out the womb with. The difference is, guys, because they hurt their knee, some guys have the mental, wait, I have to favor, and then
the overcompensation.
And that leads to other issues.
Yeah,
exactly.
One thing that I would say positive, I'm generally a negative person, but I can go positive if I need to. Giles did finish the season playing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not one of those, like, was great, and then didn't finish the season playing, which also can go a different way. Like Kyrie Irving, I could say the same thing about Kyrie Irving when he got drafted. It's like, oh, guess what? Like, he just
played 6 games
wasted a pick because he's only played so many games.
Right.
Harry Giles could turn into that. But to support your point, De'Aaron Fox is good.
Yeah.
Right? And then you got Justin Jackson, sort of like a safer pick. It's like, hey, why not? Yeah. It's like I'm up 400 in Vegas.
Yes, exactly.
I'll bet 200 on a hand.
Right.
Like why not? This could break either way, but it's not going to break the bank.
Right.
Which was a surprise.
Well, and I think part of it is I kind of like all the players they took, but the other part of it is also we're grading against the curve of Sacramento. This is a team that last year had Marquise Chris and said, no, give me that Greek guy over there who doesn't fit the way we've talked about wanting to play this whole time.
Yes.
So like the idea that they got through a draft day just not messing up. Let's just start there. They didn't mess up. Then you can take on top of like, oh, actually I like that pick there, and even if we say it was a no-brainer, like still they have no brains over there, and they managed to figure it out. And when you build on top of that, they took a nice calculated risk in Giles. Like, man, you got to.
One angle I love about this, and this is something that Vlade Divac and Danny Ainge have done. Vlade Divac is on wax saying, oh, if we had the number 1 pick, we would have taken De'Aaron Fox anyway.
No,
and Danny Ainge did the same thing. If we had the number 1 pick, we would have taken Justin Tatum anyway. Yeah. It's like, guys, it's just like you're not fooling anybody.
Yeah.
Like you're not fooling anybody. You have no one that knows basketball is taking De'Aaron Fox first. Great player. You know what I mean? Could turn into the John Wall that everyone's comparing him to.
Could be the best player in the draft, maybe, right?
Probably the 5th best player in the draft right now.
Right. No, but I'm just saying, like, even if it's like a Steph Curry thing, right?
Sure, of course.
Like, again, Steph Curry's the best player in that draft class.
Most of the players that are the best players in the league aren't drafted number 1.
And this is the analogy I use when it comes to that. Let's just assume De'Aaron Fox is really the best player in the draft, and nobody knew. It's like a Toyota Corolla that has $500,000 in gold bricks in the trunk, but you don't know it, right?
Yes.
Or you're the only one who knows it. You know that Corolla has $500,000 gold bricks in the back, right? But everyone else thinks it's just a Corolla. When you go to the dealership to buy that Corolla, are you paying $400,000 for it? No, you're still paying $20,000 or whatever it is.
Yes.
You're still paying market value. They don't know we got the steal.
This leads to a very obvious question.
What's that?
If you bought a Toyota Corolla and you found gold bricks in the back, would you keep the gold bricks?
Of course.
I don't want to deal with anybody that trades in gold bricks.
No, and look, man.
You know what I mean? If it was cash, maybe, but gold bricks like that, I don't know. Like that's concerning.
Just to be clear, America, I'm not using gold as a euphemism for some other type of brick. I'm saying bullion, okay? Like gold. Yeah, I'm
always get confused. The bouillon cube is also like
soup?
Chicken broth. Yeah, it always confuses me. But back to the draft. One thing I didn't love was the other side of that trade. So you're the Trailblazers. You trade 15 and 20. You get up to 10. You've got Malik Monk sitting there, undrafted, and you're like, I'll take that guy from Gonzaga that backed up that other guy from Gonzaga.
The local guy.
It felt like regional bias to me.
It did really
That's what
feel
it felt like. It was a regional bias. Like, you guys traded it up to get like that dude who literally might be there at 15.
Right.
Probably not, but he might be there at 15.
Here's a weird thing that happens in NBA front offices, by the way. And I'm not saying that's what happened here, but I've seen it happen.
You're totally saying that's what happened here. You're saying this maybe happened.
I'm just saying it maybe. It might have happened, but I don't know that.
Here.
When you have a local guy, a regionally local guy, one of two things happens. Either you see him so much that all you see are the warts and you don't see any of the good parts, or you see him so much that you have this bias like, oh, of course he's great.
Well, do you know what happened here is they didn't see the warts because he only played like 16 minutes a game. You know what I mean? So they didn't see him that much.
But but they'll say, because they'll go to a lot of his practices and stuff, like, oh man, this dude's actually the best.
They know the coaches.
Yeah, like they'll convince themselves that this dude is actually the nicest guy on the team. You know, this is not a version of that local bias, but to that point, we had Joakim Noah and Corey Brewer in their pre-draft come visit us, and when we asked them who was the best player on your team, do you know who they said?
This is when you were with the Suns?
This is when I was on 2007. They're coming out in the draft. Both are lottery picks. Corey Brewer, Joakim Noah, coming off 2 national championships.
Joakim Noah said that white guard.
Lee Humphrey?
Yes. Oh, I love that guy. I love that guy.
Lee Humphrey. We had a coach who said Lee Humphrey was the best player on the team.
I would have said that too, but that is not regional bias.
Yeah, that's not
a
regional
different type of bias.
No, this is, yes. No, they both said, independently, without a doubt, Maurice Spates. Maurice Spates is the best player on the team.
What? I completely forgot he was on that team.
Yeah, nobody remembers that. I
completely forgot he was on that team.
He was a freshman backup, played only like 12, 14 minutes, right? And the next year he played more, but not nearly enough. But again, imagine if
that was Brewer, Horford, and Joakim Noah.
And Joakim Noah.
That was the team. Yeah.
Like it's a no-brainer. But for them, they were like, he does all these things in practice that you guys never get to see in the game. To their credit, they talked about what a great shooter he was. And in college, people don't remember this. All he did was everything around the paint. We're like, he can't shoot. He came in for his workout a year later. He was crossing people over. He's shooting jump shots, step backs, and stuff. We're like, whoa, we never saw any of this. And then we interviewed him, and then now I get why we never saw any of this. But the point being is, if you are local to that team, now that wasn't the case for us when we were local, but if you're local, you're talking to their coaches all the time. You may be in contact with their players a lot. And you'll hear things. Oh, this Maurice Spates kid. This Maurice Spates kid. So then you start to believe, why not? So I mean, Zach Collins, everyone say he's nice. Oh, he only played 12 minutes in, but that's because of the setup of the team. Yeah. But he comes here, we got ourselves a steal. Yeah,
his standing reach is 9'3", right? So he's 9 inches from the basket, just reaching up, not even on his tippy toes. Yeah. He got 10 rebounds, double-digit rebounds in one game.
How many minutes, though?
He can't stay on the court because he fouls.
Look, he's young.
I'm not a big Zach Collins fan.
Neither am I.
Not a big Zach Collins fan.
I'm playing some devil's advocate for some reason.
Yeah, of course, because this is what we do here. But the thing is, it's just like, so you guys traded up for Zach Collins? For regional bias. I love the Northwest, by the way. Underrated part of the country. I love the Northwest. Yep. We'll get back to the draft. I think that people have been talking and listening about the draft all day long. There's some very interesting things happening in the NBA, not draft related. I want to start here. Mm-hmm. Thanks to the internet and some guy in a boat, we saw a moving truck outside of Paul George's home in Indiana. What? Okay. There was some sleuthing going on. The house, they had this one window that was very nice house. There was pictures from Paul George on the inside. It was confirmed from the outside. It was like this whole puzzle pieces put together. Listen, he could be sending some stuff to storage. He could be having a couch delivered. Or he could be saying, I'm out of here soon, so let's just start this process now.
Can I start with the most obvious question? Why is he in Indiana in June?
perhaps he needs to get some things together.
Oh man,
He lives there.
I'm sending my homie who's on staff. You know, everyone's got that one guy he grew up with. He's on the staff. You know, to go grab everything, man.
Go grab everything guy.
I can't be the one there. No, come on, man. You about to sign a $178 million deal? Like, come on, you can't be there in person to oversee this.
Oh, with all your own stuff?
You got a guy, man.
Oh, I don't have that guy.
Well, you don't have that guy.
Yeah, I don't have that guy.
If you played and made like $100 million in the bank and had Gatorade commercials and Nike commercials, that guy should be Joe Young. I take that back. I know that it's Joe Young.
Okay.
Look, he's already humiliating himself in Gatorade commercials. You might as well just go to the house and grab everything. They're cousins anyway.
But I want to say this is first of all, shout out to the guy in the boat. There's some lake there, and he's like on a boat with his shirt off. You know, he's not in shape. He's just taking pictures of. I think it's like a selfie with the moving truck in the background, or taking a picture of his friend. But like the size of this house and the size of the truck didn't really say pack everything up.
That's
you
like,
know what I mean. It's like you need 4 trucks for this house.
Bare essentials. That's what that is.
Yeah, exactly. It was like we'll figure the
rest
out
The rest is
later.
getting sold in the house sale. Like you get the furniture too.
So we have Paul George is definitely going to be on the Cavs. Nope, Paul George is definitely going to be on the Celtics. Nope, Paul George is definitely going to be on the Lakers. Now Paul George is on the Pacers.
For now.
What happens with Paul George in your mind? Because, I mean, no one really knows, but, like, what do you think could happen?
For me, I don't see a way where they start the season and he's still in a Pacers jersey. The comments on both sides make it seem like this is over.
This is him saying, I'm not coming back, and then Pritchard saying it was a gut punch.
Gut punch and all that stuff.
So, I want to ask you this. I have a good question for
yeah.
you, because you know more about the inner dealings of the front offices than I do. I just kind of pretend I do.
Right.
We've got Paul George saying, you know what, Pacers, I'm not going to come back. And I believe there's a part of him that does that as a favor, saying, don't try to keep me, don't try to build a contending team so we can go deep in the playoffs, and then maybe I'll stay.
Don't delude yourself.
Like let's not do that.
Right.
I'm doing you a favor by saying this. I know it feels negative, but I'm actually helping you with your long-term planning.
It's like telling your spouse that I'm going to cheat on you, so we should just break up right now, without actually having cheated on your spouse yet.
I'm not allowed to speak on that on the airwaves.
Oh, okay.
But I think that is a good analogy, because I feel like Pritchard saying gut punch. I can't believe he would do that to us.
Why do you pronounce his name like that?
Kevin Pritchard.
Pritchard.
I'm not good at this.
Pritchard.
You know
you're doing the Star Trek thing. Picard.
It's
Captain
Pritchard.
Picard.
His name is Kevin Pritchard. Okay. I do the original European pronunciation.
Yes, thank you.
You know, you Africans? Yeah.
Like Thibodeau.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
yes.
Thibodeau pronounces it with a TH.
I want to say Terry Rozier every time. Rozier? No, it's Rozier. Like, no, it's not. It's Rozier. But point being is it really a gut punch? Because it seems like it would help him with his business.
It's smokescreen. This is his way
Managing
of saying,
the message.
yes, this is, exactly, framing. We're framing how this is going to go down. It's going to go down that we were committed to be with Paul forever and ever, and then Paul decided to leave us. That's what he's doing there.
And if I'm Paul George, I'm saying, okay, you know what? I really like Larry Bird. You know who else I like? Frank Vogel.
Yeah.
You know? Those are my guys. We went deep in the playoffs. Right. That was the philosophy that I grew under, and that's when I blossomed into an NBA player. And are they here anymore? No.
Yeah, well, I would argue, if I were the Pacers, I would say, if you love Larry Bird, you love Frank Vogel, well, then you can call Larry Bird and ask him why he fired Frank Vogel, because Larry did that.
That's fair.
That wasn't KP.
That's fair. That's fair.
But no, look, here's the thing. Beyond the stating the war lines and all that, the other reason why he can't start the season there is because since he's an expiring deal, the teams that are not named the Lakers that want to acquire him are basically saying, you spend a year with us here, and by the end of it, you won't want to be a Laker.
How many teams in the NBA can do that?
Cleveland, because they'll say we'll go to the finals and we might win.
Celtics,
right? Celtics, they might be able to argue the same thing about being able to go to the finals. And then I've always throw Miami on that list.
I knew you were going there too.
Always.
It's people always think, South Beach. It's not just South Beach. It's the culture and the way that they do things. Yep. And Pat Riley, it just seems to be safe,
first class
structure.
Everything about it is first class.
Spoelstra, yes.
Like I've had players who play for the Heat and complain the whole time, and then they go to other places and they tell me, "Oh my God, this is like amateur hour." Like little things like the family room and like
I think that was a LeBron thing as well. When he got to Cleveland, he was like, "This is not how we are going to do things moving
exactly."
forward.
And that's the thing about Miami. But the point is, every day that passes where you are not in my building experiencing this wonderful culture of winning or whatever it is, that's a day lost. That's one day less that I have to prove to you this. So the Pacers are kind of up against the clock because their suitors are up against the clock. And every day that passes, like, I'm willing to give up less and less of my future because I have less and less of a sure chance of making this guy convincing to stay. And that's why I think there's no chance he starts the season. No one's going to, like, if it turns into a half-season rental, no one's giving up anything of worth for that.
No. I mean, yeah, and they're not going to get much back. But then, what about this? What if he makes All-NBA?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It's clear now, right? Like, that's not first of all, that's not a risk you can take as the Pacers. Like, I know. So what Jacoby's implying here is, say we don't trade him, and then he ends up being All NBA, and then we can offer him that $200 million deal, and everything is fine. That's sure. But the downside to that strategy is so massive, you can't leave yourself exposed. That if he doesn't make All NBA for whatever reason, then you're screwed. So you can't.
Top of my head, best Pacer since
Reggie Miller.
Reggie, yeah. So to have him walk for nothing at his peak is just not an option that you can do. I would have a lot of trouble looking at my boss and be like, I thought it would go different. I thought it would go different. He said it was going to go this way. And then it went this way. I was like, oh, man, but like we had a couple dinners. You know, it was cool.
What if I told you I could give you $200 million?
Yeah.
Right, there's an old Futurama line where, he's trying to get Calculon to do this movie, and he says, and you guarantee me I'll win an Oscar for it, and Bender says, hey, I can guarantee you anything, right? Meaning, sure, I guarantee, doesn't mean it's going to happen, right?
Exactly.
Same thing, like, I guarantee you $200 million, doesn't mean I'm actually going to give you $200 million. I won't have that ability to do it. So, if you're the Pacers, you can't mess around with that. You gotta get him out the door and get maximum value, understanding that every additional day this deal doesn't happen, everyone probably takes a little bit less off of what's the pile on the table.
Interesting. Do the Lakers trade for Paul George?
If I'm the Lakers, as ironic as this may sound, given that we learned what we learned from the Carmelo Anthony, I kind of do. For two reasons. One, there isn't anybody on the Lakers right now who I'm like, I'm going to regret giving him up, right? And it's not like Paul George joining that group right now is going to elevate them in the way.
I like Zubac, though.
I do like Zubac, but like Carmelo Anthony going to the Knicks, if they had kept all those guys, they would have been a legit like powerhouse team. Given
it's a hypothetical, but yeah.
As opposed to they were weakened. In this case, I'll give you Paul George right now. You don't have to give anything up. The Lakers are still terrible, so I'm not losing sleep about any of those players that you lose. The other thing is you are dallying with. Go to Cleveland, see how you like it. And then they go to the finals, and maybe, Steph Curry.
They'll go to the finals.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, and then Steph Curry has asthma, and then they end up winning, right?
Kevin Durant was hurt. It was almost a season-ending injury, but it gone different. Yeah.
Dude says, I'm never leaving here ever.
After the champagne and the trophy and the parade, there's like, no. He's signing with the Cavs.
Or goes to Boston and the Celtics.
So you said that they wouldn't trade for him. You said they would if you're the Lakers.
If I'm the Lakers, I would, because I can't risk him going somewhere good and be, this is what it's like to win? I can't risk that because I know I can't promise him that. He's going to come here, and chances are it's still going to be a process before we become contending, right?
Yeah. I want to talk about LaMarcus Aldridge. Okay. I'm going to go back a little bit.
He's having a hard time in that crazy town, huh?
He is. Well, it was first Portland, and there was this series against the Rockets, and there was a couple games where he dominated Dwight Howard.
Right.
Like it was like 35 points. I don't remember the details. It was like 30 points. Yeah. He's going to win this series. And then Dwight Howard came to Portland, I believe, and dominated him.
Yeah.
And then it was next thing you know, Chandler Parsons hits a shot.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, he's a free agent. And he gets signed to the Spurs. And I'm like, what a lucky man.
Right.
What a lucky man. Like, they're going to take him and put him into the Spurs system, be coached by Popovich. This is going to go so swimmingly because he can polish any stone into a shimmering gem the Spurs organization can. That hasn't been the case with LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpackage there.
Please do.
Okay, so first of all, the concept of the Spurs pixie dust. This is something that's been talked about in league circles. That everyone remembers the Spurs hits. Nobody remembers Kingdom Come.
Sure.
Everyone remembers Blueprint. No one remembers Kingdom Come. That's when the Spurs. So the polished gems always pop out. No one remembers Glenn Robinson not playing. No one remembers David Stoudemire chilling. No one remember, like, the guys that they took chances on that it didn't work out, right? Jackie Butler is another one. Everyone said, oh, Spurs got Jackie Butler. Watch out now.
Look what's going to happen.
Yeah, nothing happened, right?
Like, you put Gasol in there.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
He played pretty well for last night. He played better than I thought he would. So that's the one thing. The next thing is LaMarcus Aldridge. When you... this is the fuzzy part of what's been reported. As time goes by, I don't know what's been reported and what hasn't, and I don't want to break news. But when you understand the forces that led him to leave Portland, which is a pretty good team, when they had all those guys together and healthy, I believe that 1 year they had the best plus-minus of any starting five in the league. The forces that led him to leave told me that there was no way he was going to be successful in San Antonio. Because San Antonio values, in Popovich's own words, players who have gotten over themselves. And LaMarcus Aldridge hasn't gotten over himself. When the reasons that he left Portland were a lot about the amount of attention that Damian Lillard had garnered.
Really?
He felt like he was neglected. He wasn't getting enough shine. It was all about Damian Lillard's team. So he goes to San Antonio thinking Tim Duncan's about to retire. I am the heir apparent. Perfect. Until Kawhi Leonard takes this huge leap, and all of a sudden now it's Kawhi Leonard's team. And LaMarcus Aldridge is being asked to play the five sometimes. And these are all things that he didn't sign up for. He signed up to be homecoming king.
Yes.
And
Robinson, Duncan, Aldridge.
Yes.
This is how it works.
That's how it's supposed to go.
This is how it's going to be remembered.
Yep.
And we're going to win 4 championships. And that's going to be the Spurs lineage in the NBA with this dynasty of dominance.
Sure. And so now you have this situation where he's unhappy, presumably because things aren't turning out the way he thought it would. But you can't go into Greg Popovich's office and say, hey, man, I'm kind of unhappy. I'm not getting as many touches as I would like.
Well, how about this? Let me go this way with it, though, because I believe that I have a pretty good handle on who LaMarcus Aldridge is as a basketball player and his abilities. If I were to Greg Popovich, I would say, okay, pick a team, and we'll put you on that team. Which team are you going to be the man at?
If you're going
to how's this going to work?
Well,
you think he goes to Orlando? It's like, oh, I'm going to run the Orlando Magic. I'm going to get all the touches and shots. Like what? How does he think that? What's his path to success in his deluded brain?
Every single NBA player, from the lowliest 10-day guy to LeBron James, believes fully that any lack of success that happens to them on the floor is somebody else's fault.
Of course.
So it's like,
man.
First of all,
that's not just the NBA player, by the way. That's pretty much humanity.
But it's just like the idea, like they're all like, man, that coach was screwing me out. I should have, I would have been like a 10-time All-Star if I had as many shots as him. Man,
If the point guard gave him the ball, if they ran these plays,
like,
if the coach did
all
this.
Types of stuff. Oh, y'all think Karl Towns is that good? Okay, all right, yeah. Give me Karl Towns the touches. Man, I'll take the Timberwolves to the finals. That's how these guys think. And so you can be like that as Greg Popovich, but he's probably going to name you about 28 teams. And so your job as Greg Popovich is not to get into a urinating match, because this is radio.
That works.
A urinating match with him about how good he really is or isn't. It's like, okay, so you wouldn't mind going. So for instance, last year I was like, DeMarcus Cousins might be fed up enough in Sacramento to come in to San Antonio and accept. And I would have been like, yo, I'd dangle LaMarcus Aldridge in a heartbeat for DeMarcus Cousins. Because I already get who LaMarcus Aldridge is. It's clearly not going to work out. DeMarcus Cousins has more upside as a player. I'll roll my dice there. And if it didn't work out, then you can flip him and keep doing this because you're San Antonio. No one's ever going to say no when you're dangling a star caliber player like that. But that's the key right now. The key is, can you quietly find places that have players that you like who are suckers enough to still buy into the LaMarcus Aldridge experience? Is that too harsh?
Can I say something blasphemous?
Please.
I don't love the Spurs roster right now.
No, that's not blasphemous.
Like, I don't really love the Spurs roster. Everyone's like, oh, well, who's really a contender? The Cavs, the Spurs, and the Warriors. I'm like, It's kind
of why Kawhi Leonard should be MVP.
Yeah. Kinda, because you watch Kawhi go down. It's like, wait a second, like all of a sudden, Jonathan Simmons is like ISOing.
Oh no!
What I mean?
It turns. What happens?
Who's not even on the team right now?
If the clock struck midnight and these guys are turning back to pumpkins. Patty Mills. Yes. Oh yeah, he's just a second-round pick from Australia. Danny Green. You used to dance for LeBron James' amusement. Like all of the Pau Gasol, you're 185 years old. Like everything became
and you're
super
missing
apparent.
Your jump hook too. By the way,
super apparent. Like, oh, that's right. You guys aren't good at all. This has all been held together. It's like the fictional, like, two toddlers standing on each other's shoulders wearing a trench coat.
Yes. It does feel like that because they always had the Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan trident to throw at teams, and just kind of feels like a Kawhi Leonard spear right now.
Oh man,
It's just like this is not.
Those guys are.
It's not. I just don't feel like right now, as they're constructed, that they're a team that's going to contend for a championship. However, I feel like they are smart enough as an organization to recognize that and make some changes.
Exactly, and that's where you give them credit for being not like. That's where there is Spurs pixie dust, is that they're very frank with themselves when they know they're going down the wrong path. They have a way to rectify it. But this leads into a little bit about this whole Chris Paul conversation.
Let's have it.
So they got Pau Gasol to opt out.
Chris Paul, who just opted out of his contract
Breaking
with the Clippers,
news.
something new that just happened. Also, Blake Griffin did. Doesn't really mean much to a real NBA fan because there's no way they're going to opt in.
Right.
But please continue.
But a more impressive feat that happened this week was Pau Gasol opting out of his deal. Because unlike Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, who are going to make so much more than they were due next year, Pau Gasol, I don't know if he's going to make $15, $16 million next year. So for him to do that, that means that he's been told by them, hey, do this. It's kind of the NBA version of restructuring your contract. And then that'll give us some breathing room, and we can add maybe a Chris Paul. So if you do that, is LaMarcus Aldridge still part of this equation as the third banana? And is he cool with that? If not, is he not part of this equation? And who's the third banana? Or does Chris Paul and Kawhi Leonard and a gang of misfits, is that enough?
No, it's not enough.
Right.
No. The Gang of Misfits thing is cool in the regular season. You know what I mean? It's so cool in the regular season. Like you can get that number 2 seed and everything, but then when you get to that 7-game series.
And part of this, by the way, is I won't say never, but it's going to be extremely difficult for anybody to put together a roster that says, okay, Golden State, let's do this.
Okay, but like I think that people say that all the time, and I kind of feel
you still have to try.
I feel like this. Like, listen, Kevin Durant was like a millimeter away from having a season-ending injury. You take Kevin Durant off of this roster, there's a multitude of teams in both conferences that could compete in a 7-game series.
Here's my hot take.
Go for it.
Durant, have he gotten hurt in that first round as he did and missed the rest of the playoffs, Golden State will still wins.
That's fine. That's feasible.
But
they won 73 games without him. That's not so crazy.
No, but I think people are shocked when I say that. Like, they still would have beaten the Cavs handily.
They didn't need Kevin Durant to win this year.
No.
They didn't. No. It's
this
like
is about winning 5.
Kevin Durant. Yes.
This is about winning 5, not winning 1.
Yes. Oh, good. Now that you've said it, because you've graced us here, and we really appreciate it, we want you to leave on a hot take.
Okay.
How many championships does this core Warriors team win? We won't hold you to this. And by we won't hold you to this, we'll play it every time you come on forever.
All right. Next 5 years?
E40 said 10, so he's at the bar there.
No,
okay,
I'm going next 5 years because these guys are going to sign deals that are 5 years long, right?
Yep.
Here's the crazy part. If Andre Iguodala stays, they're going to win 4 out of 5. If Andre Iguodala leaves, they're going to win 3 out of 5.
I love it. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you coming by. We really appreciated everything.
Is this on TV?
You get parting gifts, of course.
I got a shirt. I got 2 shirts.
Jalen and Jacoby T-shirt.
Can the people buy this?
No, we don't. This isn't TBA. We don't sell our merch. Okay, this is a real show. This is a real show. We got sponsors.
Giveaways. Look, I got a mug, a glass, a little beer glass, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And it's for water. It's for water.
Okay, and I got
Disney show.
The shirt in black too. Because, it's not enough to do it in one color. So,
thank you so much for coming. We really, really appreciate it. Coming up next, because the Sixers are so hot, I'm going to call my friend Ben Detrick of the Cookies Podcast on Vice to talk Sixers.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
I want to thank Amin for coming by and talking draft with us.
Shout out.
I think when you go online and you read the sort of like winners and losers of the draft, everybody lists at the top of the winners the Philadelphia 76ers. I have a very close friend of mine, also host of the Cookies Podcast on Vice.
Shout out.
His name is Ben Detrick. Ben, how you doing?
What's going on, Jacoby?
Just doing radio. And everyone's talking about the Sixers. You're one of my favorite people to discuss NBA basketball with. However, I do have one criticism, and you know it, is you can bring any conversation about the NBA back to the Sixers. So I've decided, since the Sixers are Sixering so hard right now, we're going to do a full Sixers segment so you stay on track. Is that fair?
I love that you cut out the middleman of other teams to discuss, and we got straight to the marrow of the 76ers of Philadelphia.
Okay. Let's start with Markelle Fultz. were you more excited about the fact that Saric and Embiid came to his workout and sort of embraced him into the Sixers family, or that the first thing he did was make sure that there was a Chick-fil-A in Philadelphia when they traded for the number 1 pick?
Are those my only two options?
No.
I mean, I think it's cool that the Sixers have this little, I don't know, fraternal element where everyone seems to be enthusiastic about playing with each other. I think that is an indication that the team culture is stronger than perhaps people gave it credit for, because, guys like Embiid and Saric are pretty much day ones. So I think that sort of puts a thumb in the eye of the losing culture criticism that flew around for a couple of years. So I would say I'm more excited by the fact that these guys are excited to play together.
And by day one with Saric, you mean day, 750 because he waited in Europe for 2 years before he started playing for the Sixers?
Will he ever come over? I hope he will.
Who knows? There is so much enthusiasm around this team. They sold over 14,000 season tickets. I'm going to say that again. 14,000 season tickets. They ring a bell in the office every time that this happens. As a lifelong diehard Sixers fan, does it feel weird to have this much optimism around the team since Iverson?
It feels strange, and maybe that's why my natural inclination is to be less optimistic than other people.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, when I look at what they've built, I think it's really exciting, but in the back of my mind, I know that they've played 33 games combined with all their big three pieces here as professional players, and none of them have stepped on the floor together. So I'm kind of hedging here. They're an Embiid injury away from a debacle, and we've never seen Fultz. So, I love that people are excited. I'm excited to see them play, and it's great for basketball in Philadelphia, but it's so theoretical. It's an incredibly philosophical idea, and even though the talent is great, I'm kind of taking a wait-and-see approach before I get too exuberant.
When did you become so rational, Ben Detrick of the Cookies Podcast on Vice? Thank you so much for joining us. I'm joined by Ben Detrick. He's a huge Sixers fan, and you just went negative, so I'm going to go positive. Are you ready for this? Joel Embiid, Dario Saric, Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz, TJ McConnell. That's a good starting five.
You're also forgetting the best player on the team last year outside of Embiid, which is my man, Big Shot Bob, Robert Covington.
I do love me some Covington, but something tells me that Mr. Simmons is going to cut into some of his playing time.
Yeah, I would imagine that. I think that, but I don't know if Dario's going to start. I wouldn't start him. To me, I would rather have Simmons at the 4 and then put Dario as a creator off the bench and put Covington at the 3, because he's a great defensive player, super underrated.
Yeah. That's interesting. Simmons at the 4 is concerning against some bigs, but not really. You know what I mean? Not anymore.
What
yeah,
big?
I don't know, like a Kevin Love. Kevin Love comes to mind. Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal. I don't know if you can hold those guys together.
Dude, Oakley's going to put him in the basket. What is this, Jacoby?
That's very fair.
We just watched the finals where the biggest guy on the court was you.
That's fair. There's a lot of detractors on Markelle Fultz, and the detractors sound like this. I'll give you a negative thing about Markelle Fultz, and you tell me why it doesn't matter. Are you ready?
Okay, we'll give this a whirl.
Doesn't really play defense.
That seems to be true, but he's got long arms and pretty athletic. I think that it's hard to say college defense when you're playing a lot of zone is necessarily indicative of professional skill. Although no one who comes out of Syracuse can ever play defense, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I like what you did there. Nice wrinkle with the zone defenses in college. Next Markelle Fultz thing. Didn't really win games. They won 2 conference games, I believe. And if you are the number 1 pick in the draft, I get it. Like Ben Simmons also didn't play in the tournament, and I love Ben Simmons as a prospect, but Ben Simmons' LSU team was more successful than Fultz's Washington team.
It's hard for me to defend that because I think that's a valid concern. When you've got a point guard and your job is to run the offense, and I don't know that they generated amazing shots via his ability in the same way that, say, UCLA did with Lonzo Ball. But again, it goes back to the talent that we're talking about. I don't know that Fultz even being, say, a better distributor or more talented would have led to, I don't know, another 15 wins. I think you have to kind of give him a pass because of the talent on the team. But I do think it is concerning. It's like, well, if you're that good, why didn't you win more games? It's like a totally valid criticism.
Yes, I'm glad you're with me on this one. Usually you're a lot more irrational when we talk about the Sixers. I think it's because we're actually on the air that you're kind of dialing it back a little bit. I'm excited about this. Do
you want to hear me talk about the depth of the process? Are you just trying to get me wired up here?
Oh, yeah! That's even better because, well, we'll get to the depth of the process. That'll be the big finish for this segment. But before we're there, I think there's a very rational and intelligent criticism of this roster, which is the team leaders are all about 22, 23 years old. There is no veteran present. Am I crazy? Didn't they have Elton Brand on the team last year? Like, what happened with there's no true veteran there that's going to be a leader in the locker room.
They signed Elton Brand last preseason and then maybe turned him into a coach. It seemed to be some kind of money laundering scam.
What was that? When I saw they signed Elton Brand, I was like, he's going to coach, right? It's like, wait, as a player? Like, do they owe him money? Like, there's some sort of did he lose a poker game? Like, what happened?
No, I feel like it was somehow funneling money to Mike Krzyzewski, Jerry Colangelo, Elton. It was a vast conspiracy.
Good.
Also, I don't like any vets. No vets, please. I'm anti-vet.
What? No vets. Oh, I love this. Because people like me and you can say things like that, but people that played in the NBA are like, oh, no, you need some vets. Why are you anti-vets?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that vets' experience makes as much of a difference as that vets are generally better basketball players. So when a team is losing and people say, oh, man, they need some vets, it's just because vets make a team better, but it's viewed as like the young guys don't know what they're doing. And there's some truth to that, but I don't know how much having Ersan Ilyasova on the Sixers for, 35 games makes Embiid a better player, or it just makes him perform better because there's a reliable stretch four. I think people are considering the fact that a team improves as being evidence that veterans are helping young guys, when I don't know if that's the case.
I like that. Ben, is the process dead?
Hell yeah. The process has been dead since Sam Hinkie got usurped by Jerry Colangelo in December of 2015. They haven't made a processy move for the most part since then. That's a year and a half ago. You look at the transactions since then, it was trading 2 picks for Ish Smith. It was signing Elton Brand. It was trading Nerlens for nothing. It was trading Jeremy for a veteran rental. And even the draft day pick, which I'm not necessarily opposed to, was giving up assets to move up and consolidate versus stacking chips. So the process has been dead for a year and a half. The only thing that remains is that Joel Embiid has so chivalrously taken the name and made it live through him.
As someone who pays close attention to the Sixers, a person from the outside say, the process was good, but at some point you have to pivot and start making non-processy moves. Do you agree with that, or do you wish that they were still doing process behavior?
Oh, I think what we were robbed of was seeing this perfect processy storm where you saw them adding talent like Embiid to the draft and then doing trades like we just saw the Timberwolves do, or trying to make a bold move and go for Paul George and see if you can convince him to stay. I think that was 100% what Hinkie was intending to do, was to stack all these guys when you couldn't attract a free agent, and then you've got young talent, you've got trade chips, you've got draft picks, and then you make that move and you add a Jimmy Butler to this core they have right now. To me, that was always the intention. It was never like kicking the can down the line. And to me, Colangelo is actually doing more of that and saying, hey, we're a young team, we're going to be bad next year. And that's what's going to happen with this team. It's not about bold strokes. It's about incremental growth. So I think that was the plan that Sam Hinkie wanted to do. It just didn't occur.
Who do you love more? Me, who you've been friends with for a decade, or Sam Hinkie, who you've never met in your life?
I love you, Dave Jacoby.
Nah, Sam Hinkie's the real reason. The real answer, Sam Hinkie.
Well, look, if Sam Hinkie asked me on his show, then I'd probably have a different answer.
Thank you so much for joining Ben Detrick. He is a co-host of the Cookies podcast. I've listened to it many times. It is an excellent listen. It is distributed by Vice. You can join him there. Thank you so much for joining us on Jalen and Jacoby.
Thank you for having me, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Jalen Rose, you were there in the building, the Barclays Center. No Captain America statue out front. That felt good walking in, didn't it?
That felt excellent.
Good. We got to get a Biggie statue up there. We got to get a Biggie statue at the
indeed.
Barclays.
No question about
but one
it.
step at a baby steps. At least they took
I
off.
lobbied for it on the air. I sure did.
Good. And here's the other thing is, like, at least they're taking the right steps, because that Captain America statue didn't belong there. It really didn't belong there. I'm glad they took it out. So you were in the building for the draft. What didn't we see on camera? What was the feeling like? Were there players interacting? Was it nervous? Was it excitement? What did you feel in the building?
The amazing thing about the building on draft night is the joy of all of the families, the players who get a chance to see a dream actually come true. There's so many things we ask for in life. There's so many things we hope to get accomplished. Unfortunately, they never take place. When you get an opportunity to not only be an NBA draft pick, but go across the stage, shake the commissioner's hand, and realize that I'm in the first round, so therefore I get a chance to play basketball for the love, that's a beautiful thing. As opposed to those that get drafted in the second round. Here's the difference. You get drafted in the first round, you get a chance to do it for the love. In the second round, you're trying to do it for a living.
You don't even get
It's
the
about
commissioner.
survival.
Like, you don't even get to shake the commissioner's hand if you get drafted in the second round. Like, I feel like Adam Silver, if you can be there for 4 hours, Adam Silver can be there for 4 hours.
Here's why. There's a distinction. Your check that comes from the National Basketball Association has one commissioner, Adam Silver. Those guys go in the first round. In the second round, you playing for your life. You playing for survival, because those deals ain't guaranteed. And the thing that I always acknowledge and pay attention to in my own humble eyes is all of the people that were early entrants that don't get drafted in the first round. Because let me tell you a line said by no one ever. I want to grow up and play in the G League.
I do like the sound of the G League, though, but I understand your point. And that's one of the reasons that I like to watch the Summer League games, is because you see these players, they're like, I'm playing for money. I'm playing for my financial future. I'm playing for a check. I'm playing to secure my living for my family moving forward. You get those guys, then you get the guys that are like, I don't know why I have to be here. You know, I don't know why they sent me to the Summer League. And to watch the ones that are playing for their lives dunk all over the ones that are just like, why did they send me to Vegas? You were there in the building. A lot of people want to just break everything down into winners and losers, you know, and I kind of feel like there are a lot of teams that were very successful. There weren't that many sort of surprise, crazy, terrible moves outside of the Bulls trading, you know, Jimmy Butler. But what were some of the picks that you said, ooh, that's going to work out nicely?
I appreciated Philly taking Fultz, the Lakers taking Ball, and getting Josh Hart late in the first round. Both big guards. I appreciated the fact that the Celtics went for a need with Jason Tatum. But the eye-popping pick early was Josh Jackson, falling to Phoenix, pairing him with Devin Booker, a guy who scored 70 points in the league last year. Now all of a sudden you get another athlete, a lockdown defender, who is a capable ball handler, will improve his jump shot. I really like them as a tandem. Now when I look at the Phoenix Suns, they did it last year in the draft, getting young and getting athletic. They have multiple guards now that they've created value in. What's going to happen with Knight? What's going to happen with Bledsoe? Ulis shows some potential. So now all of a sudden they become a team that's like, you know what? Maybe we can move Tyson Chandler and see if we can, what's going on with DeAndre Jordan. Or don't be surprised if they're part of the Kevin Love sweepstakes.
Ooh.
Now they've created value in a roster that I think puts them in position to make another move. Just like the Minnesota Timberwolves. Just think about what Minnesota did.
Okay.
They drafted Zach LaVine, turned him into a 20-point scorer. He injures his knee. They draft Chris Dunn. The Bulls liked him last year. He doesn't really play much.
Nope.
Ricky Rubio, he ain't taking my spot. And that's what I appreciate about him being a vet, which I talked about all season. And then they have a lottery pick. They package that and they send it to the Bulls and get a top-tier two-way player in Jimmy Butler on their roster. So I like when people create value from within.
One of the things the Bulls did get is Lauri Markkanen. So they end up with Lauri Markkanen, Zach LaVine, and Chris Dunn. All three players, they're kind of but, so what do you think they're doing? Is this truly sort of a salary dump and we want these pieces? Or do you think they're trying to build around Markkanen and Dunn and LaVine?
Zach LaVine, if he returns from his injury, shouldn't be overlooked in this process. As I acknowledged, he get buckets and flurries. An explosive athlete, he has tremendous promise. Chris Dunn, I felt the exact same way once he got picked. Had a couple of glimpses in Minnesota. Going to get an opportunity to get a lot of minutes in Chicago. Also puts them in a position not to pay Rajon Rondo if they choose not to. Also puts them in position not to bring back Rajon Rondo if they don't want to. Lauri Markkanen, as you mentioned, he's not a stretch 4. He's a stretch 5.
He's a stretch 5.
And here's the distinction. He's not going to be able to guard forwards in any way, shape, or form. So he's not like a Ryan Anderson who's going to spot up, spread the floor from that spot. The geometry's a little bit different when the guy plays the 5. He's more like a Channing Frye.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like him. He's a terrific shooter. He's going to be a productive player. I like the Bulls' young players that they got in the trade. I really do. But if I'm trading and breaking down the roster, I have to get something proven in return. In their opinion, that was Zach LaVine, a player I like a lot.
Well, I hope he gets back from his injury. I know that you've been talking about him with me for the last couple of years off of wax. Just saying he's one of your guys that you picked, that you like, that you think is going to develop into a good player. And I hope that he comes back from his injury and turns into the player that you always thought he was going to be. Why did Malik Monk fall to 11?
Because what ends up happening for a player like Malik Monk, they look at your stats in your game like, wait a minute, he doesn't really get assists, doesn't really get rebounds, not much of a defender.
Gets buckets.
He's a heat check type player.
I like buckets.
Like Lou Williams, like Jamal Crawford. Guys that come in, and before you know it, you're like, he got 15? And so you pair him with Kemba Walker. Nicholas Batum is also a really good ball handler, can initiate offense when those two guys can play off the ball. And all of a sudden, you have guys that can light up the scoreboard in the same backcourt. Something that's needed in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. You trade for Dwight Howard, who I think has an opportunity with that squad. Just go grab every rebound. He should be as humbled as any player ever. Set every pick. Grab every rebound.
You know I love low expectations. I feel like it always leads to good performance. Dwight Howard's expectations could not be lower right now. And I think that's going to help. It's going to relieve him of all of this pressure. He's going to be like, you know what? No one thinks I'm going to perform. Let me prove the world wrong. I think the Charlotte Hornets got a lot better in the last 2 weeks. I think they did. I think the Charlotte Hornets got a lot better. And in the East, that can mean something. It really can.
And I think being only the second player to make 5 All-NBA first teams and play for 5 teams, the other Shaquille O'Neal and Dwight Howard, does give him the attitude that you just described of hunger. But how about this? Him and Cam Newton going to bring the A-Town to Charlotte. They're going to be turning up.
I didn't even think of that.
I'm going to be the first person to put that on wax for y'all. Cam Newton
think of
and him,
that.
They going to be a peace up, A-Town down.
Thanks so much for listening to the Jalen Jacoby podcast. We love our everyday podcast listeners. You are our people. We give the people what they want, so give us what we want. We want you to go to iTunes, leave us a review, give us a 5-star rating, 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. We'll be back next week. Jalen is taking a vacation.
I need a vacation.
But we'll be back with some guests. Stay tuned.
I need a vacation.
For subscribing to the Jalen and Jacoby podcast.